Good morning, afternoon, evening, Mr. Fluffers. Welcome on in. It is Tuesday, innit? How are y'all doing? Good morning. Oh my gosh, I'm still kind of tired. I tried going to sleep. Because I was just like in bed wide awake the entire time. It's just so annoying. And then I finally fell asleep. I don't know what time. Anyway, so Relder, congratulations on redeeming first. You're the first one here. Pachi. Fireclaw, hello, good morning. How are you doing? I'm gonna start off today. Let's just watch some videos. Let's do some learning this morning. I've been doing a lot of like research and stuff into cosplay things, so I want to learn more. Now that we have a convention coming up, we have a cosplay coming up and all that stuff, so let's start with that. I want to have a look at wig styling stuff. There's a lot of different things, so let's try this first one over here. Pretty good actually. I've been doing my workouts. I woke up so early that I was like, oh, should I do my workout today? Should I do it before? Like, I couldn't sleep, so I'm like, oh, maybe I should do my workout and then feed the dogs. No, workout, then shower, then feed the dogs and cook breakfast and start stream. But that'd be like 0 sleep. That would have been 0 sleep. You went to the old house to clean. You're tired. Oh no! Well, hopefully you can relax this morning. It's still morning. It's still morning to me. All right, let me. Where is it? YouTube, come here. I also was watching my Korean drama. Last night. Oh, so good. I say drama, but it's more like. What do you call it? It's more like... I don't know the word. Anyway. Yo, 155 streak, let's go.
Wig setup.
Oh,
hello everyone,
she's so quiet.
welcome to a new video. Today I am doing something very different, but I hope
Sage,
it will
good morning.
be helpful.
Hi,
Today we're going to be talking about the basics of wig styling, wig care, wig stuff. This video is actually suggested by Samantha. Thank you, Samantha. Samantha asked if I could do a video where I talk about how to trim, style, and brush a wig, which I realized I could do that. My wig expertise is very limited. I own a lot of wigs, but I don't really know much about them in my personal opinion. I'm really not the biggest wig expert by any means, but I do know the very basics, you know, how to trim, how to style, how to brush a wig.
I learn some stuff
knowing that this would be a video that some of you may find helpful, that's what we're going to be doing today. I have my wig set up. I've got all my wig styling tools. I got some wigs to show you stuff with, and this is very awkward. I'm so sorry. But yeah, today I'm going to basically be walking you guys through how to do wig basics. Yay, exciting stuff. So let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to be talking about today is how to brush a wig. Before we start, I'm just going to show you guys kind of my little setup here. So I have the wig on an actual wig head, and I have 2 little sewing needles poked into the wig on the front, the 2 of them right here just to anchor the wig so that it doesn't slide back
okay, hold up.
as I'm working on it. Then this wig head has a little hole in the bottom so that it can pop onto.
I adjusted my volume last night. I forgot. I didn't. I missed it up.
So you just take the wig and you just slide it on there.
Thank you, Weaver.
And you're all ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our wig comb or wig brush. So I have a nice wig brush here. I also have a wig comb.
For Eggman.
This one I got on eBay.
You could still like do a wig cap.
Free with a lace front wig.
You could do like a cap.
You can find these obviously on eBay or at a specialized wig store like Arta Wigs. You want this to obviously be like a wider tooth comb because that's going to be better for the wig. So I'm going to use this to start off with. The other thing that helps when detangling a wig is this mane and tail detangler.
You have more cloth cleaning, you have no wig? No worries.
Art of Wigs Canada. You can find them at beauty supply stores or just generally online. I'm sure you could find it on somewhere like Amazon. It's meant to detangle horsetails, but it also works really well for detangling wigs. It is a silicone spray. So you spray it on the wig and it coats each of the fibers in silicone so they can more easily kind of slide off of one another. And this just makes detangling wigs much easier. So if you have a wig that's super knotted, I recommend taking this, just spraying it on there, and then going at it using the techniques that I'm going to show you. One thing that you want to make sure is if you have like a hardwood floor or any sort of hard surface flooring, if you spray this against that, it will make the floor really slippery. So watch out for that. If you do get this on the floor, just make sure to mop it up afterwards so that you don't have a super slippery floor. So in brushing a wig, I like to start at the very bottom and then gradually work my way up. So what I do is I just take a bit of the hair in my hand like that, and I just work the comb through it like so. So as you can see, the comb is going through it quite well. There's no real issues. So as long as that's happening, I then go up a little bit further and work the comb down through more of the hair, and then just gradually work my way up until you get, obviously, towards the top. So that's just kind of the basics of combing a wig. So now for instances where there's kind of bigger knots in the wig, what I do is I do the spidering technique. Spidering is basically where you pick apart
maybe funny thing Dr. Botnick
little by little until you can easily
like yes like a shoujo anime version. That'd be amazing.
This particular area. So I just take it all apart like this.
So with cosplay, it's sort of tricky. I've explained it to the mutters, the more founding mutters before. I have it. Thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate you. I have tea for that. So with cosplay, Happy New Year to you too. Everyone's been sending me messages with that. I haven't. I'm just waking up. So with cosplay, I actually kind of have some PTSD with it. When I was early on, I was trying to, just getting into cosplay and whatever, and at a certain convention, I wasn't cosplaying at this time. I was dressed up differently, but I was not cosplaying. But people knew that I cosplayed, right? And there was just a time at this con that I went to, and a whole group of people, and I'm talking about like 10 to 13 probably, maybe more realistically 8, I don't know, I felt like 10 to 13, but it's probably 8. People were chasing me in the con. I'd like walk, they'd follow. I walk faster, they walk faster. I run, they run. I don't like that. I really did not like that at all. So that gave me like, leave me alone. I'm not here to play. Like this, I actually don't like this at all. Very much. No, don't like this. So that really put me off. Yeah, it's extremely bad etiquette. Put me completely off cosplaying. Not to mention the amount of times people would take photos without asking. Like, if I noticed someone would just bring a camera up without asking, I would purposefully like pick up, because I was selling stuff at the time. I was like working for my store, right? I just pick up product and put it in front of my face or in front of my body or something, because like, if you want a photo, ask, but don't just take the photo and not ask. Like, if you want to do like a cute candid shot, just like come up, mention it, get the permission, get the consent, and then come back around later to get that shot. Like, don't just don't. And so sorry, it's just talking about it makes you want to like vom. You know that like gross feeling in your throat. Free marketing. Well, that's the thing, is like I wasn't marketing myself. Like I wasn't like professional cosplayer, blah blah blah. No, I just want to exist and do my thing, you know what I mean? So I legit have not cosplayed for like decades or something like that. It's just, yeah, no. Yeah, so I've been extremely fortunate with streaming and cosplay. Let me just put some music on. With streaming and cosplay and the Mutters being so supportive of me, like cosplaying on my own terms and just getting more comfy with it. I'm taking my own photos and everything too. And we've been... No, it's definitely not a bad question. It's absolutely not a bad question. And I'm extremely thankful to the Mutters. Like, you guys are the ones who have been helping me build up my confidence again with cosplay, like supporting, purchasing the outfits and just like all that sort of stuff. Oh, hey, your only cons I went to were tattoo ones, and let me tell you, the creeps. Oh yeah, absolutely, I know about that too. I don't even have to go to tattoo cons to know. One of my friends is a tattoo artist, and another friend who gets tattoos has this known creepy guy back home, who I think has gone to jail. Can literally see people swarming specific booths of people walking around. It's sad. It's depressing to go to cons. I just do it for fun most days. So I feel like the con that I'm going to is gonna be fun. I know, it's a VTuber con. I've never been to a VTuber con before. It's the first one. I haven't been to any cons here in Canada, funnily enough. I went to a lot back home because of work. Like I was working at the hobby store. So selling whatever like area my boss wanted to put me in, whether it was cards, figurines, statues, collectibles, manga, comics, or whatever. Like I could sell wherever, but my strongest one was obviously like manga and stuff. Manga and figurines. And so yeah, I travel to the different locations for the cons. And then there was one time, I think I mentioned this before, we were selling like homebound, not the comic, whatever, homebound, but Jupiter, you barked and my monitor flickered. What the heck? Oh, okay, baby dog. Hold up, sweetie. That's fine. It's okay. But yeah, so I actually was cosplaying. I borrowed someone's cosplay for that because I was in the store and the store was going to be presumed quiet because everyone's going to the convention, right? It turned out that weekend, in the store by myself, I sold more than they did at the convention. That's crazy. Like my sales at the store was higher than what it was at the convention, which is kind of insane. Yeah. The editor's gaining superpowers page. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Jupiter's just... maybe there's a package that's arrived. Look at Middle. Hi, good morning. You put the stickers on it? No worries. We just got some new Valentine's Day ones, limited Valentine's Day ones too, that we'll stop selling at the end of the month, but I'll send them out every weekend. What else? Yeah, so we're just talking about cosplay stuff. But yeah, I think this year is gonna be the first year that I've been able to, that I get the opportunity to do like a full cosplay, like with the wig, the makeup, with contact lenses, with the outfit, with somewhat decent correct shoes and stuff. So yeah, I'm very, very excited actually. I won't be going by myself. I think that's the other thing, is like when I cosplayed in the past, I don't really have friends that cosplayed. I think that was only 1 year they did. But yeah, it's been a while since you went to a con. Yeah, this is the first con. Wait, hang on. Comic-Con's the last con I went to, and that was in like 2017 or something like that. So I haven't been to a con in like 8 years. So it's gonna be fun. The group will help. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm so excited. I was actually thinking about like, what if? Because Annie's going to, right? Yeah, I'm very excited to go with Annie. And for some reason, my brain was like, oh, if someone touches my Annie, I'm a not break their arm, but I'm definitely gonna arm lock them. Be like, what are you doing? Don't you dare touch her! Fire! And just like, what would I shout? What would I shout in the convention if someone was trying to touch my friend without the consent? I would be angry Shiba noises. Never go by yourself. Yeah, I didn't have the luxury of people. I didn't have the luxury of friends to go with me and cosplay and stuff, you know. That's just, especially around that time. That's just the way it is. Yeah, but to be fair, most of the time I was working at the store. And then in previous years when I wasn't working at the store, I worked for the store. Just at conventions, just to help out. Because I always need extra people, right? We're a small store, but we have, well... It's not my store, but the store I worked for, it was a small store. But yeah, no, I feel like when it comes to Annie, I feel like I'm gonna be god dog. I may be small, but I know things. I may be small, but I know things. So yeah, my brain's like, I should practice some of this self-defense stuff that I know. I haven't done in a long time. But there's some things that's just like, it's so ingrained into you now that you don't even have to think about it, it just does. But I want to get my reflexes faster for that. And Archie, why are people avoiding me? Angry face stares in the background. Cherry stands staring anyone down. You fake off. Yeah, no, I think the convention's gonna be fun. I'm actually very excited. I'm excited to spend time with everyone. I'm excited to spend time with Annie especially. And just like make memories together and take photos and then, you know, come back online and share with everyone who wasn't able to be there physically. But you were there in our hearts, obviously. Duh. But yeah. This is gonna be my first full cosplay. Well, hang on. No, you know what? It's not just my first convention in Canada. It's gonna be my first cosplay in Canada. Like at cosplay at a con. We cosplayed at home, but not at convention. On self-defense, next time we might want to practice on self-defense to do rust a bit. I absolutely want to say yes. But your knees. That's the only thing. Because of the height difference, you're automatically gonna be shorter in a sense. But okay. Then yeah, I think that could be a thing. We gotta plan when to meet up as well. I might not be till after. Unless... I just realized there was a Miku Expo and I didn't buy tickets for it because like it feels like too close to the Oshi Uplink. And then I realized I have opportunities here now living in Canada. Like back home, there's no Miku concert. You could never go to a Miku concert back home. There's no Comic-Con. There's like just local convention, right? Local big convention. But I'm like, and we hardly get the famous people because we're so far away. And then here in being in like North America, I not only do I have access to so many cons now, I have access to lots of festivals, like EDM festivals and stuff like that. I'm like, I really wish I had more money and time for it. But yeah, the opportunities and everything, there's like way more here. Whereas back home, there's like one for each thing, maybe, if you're lucky. Yeah. And no, I say miss congeniality. How do you say that word? Congeniality. Yeah, I'm just saying cheese, solar plexus, instep, nose, groin. What the? No, I used to assistant teach martial arts for a certain school. That was fun. I taught kids. I taught kids some like blocks and dodges, and we made it super fun. And we'd be so hyped and fun about it. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna calm down. Now go as fast as you can. Whoa. And they had fun. I had fun, and hi. Yeah, no, it was fun. I think I was burnt my finger as well. It's okay. Anyway, I'm gonna play this video and try and eat some of my breakfast. Oh, I could yap.
Gradually until
like
I'm able to
quite a bit today.
brush my hand through it. Can't quite brush my hand through it yet, so I just
Brush.
that apart until, not quite. Okay, there we go. So now I can finally get my hand through it without getting caught on any knots. So now that that's happening, I can then go through, just like I said, go through with the comb, start at the bottom, and then gradually work my way up
maybe
until we get to the top. So I like to work in each little section of the wig as I go. So I'll start in one little section, I'll go through pulling apart the knots, and then going through and combing it. This keeps it from being super overwhelming. Obviously, you don't want to focus on the entire wig at once. So I'm just going to rinse and repeat, pulling apart the knots, and then combing through the wig, starting at the bottom and working my way up.
Combing the wig's not gonna be a problem for me, just because of like, I have long, like, you see my hair. My hair is just as long IRL. You gonna continue painting? Oh, feel free to send like whips and stuff in the sketchbook. I'd love to see what you're working on. Hope cosplay studies go well. Thank you.
And now we are all good to go. The wig is all detangled and combed out, and it's ready to be worn. So now that we have our wig all combed out, detangled, ready to go, we're gonna move on to trimming the wig. Now for this, I'm just using these sewing scissors that I got from the dollar store. These are quite dull just because I've had them for so many years. I recommend getting actual wig scissors, which you can find online from companies like Art of Wigs. I have yet to upgrade to actual wig cutting scissors. I should definitely do that. But for today, I'll just be using these scissors that I have on hand. And then you also want to make sure that you have a piece of cardboard or newspaper or something basically to catch all the hair that's going to be falling down. If you can cut this like over a garbage, that also helps too. Just making sure that you don't get the fibers everywhere. So for this example, we are going to be cutting fringe here. So what I like to do is I first like to figure out how short
you're a good Farkle. I know exactly what you're talking about.
In my hands, hold it a little bit above the approximate length that I want to trim the wig. Then I take my scissors and pointing them upwards, you want to make sure that you always point them upwards. I cut into the wig just like that using the very end of the scissors, just like this. This is going to ensure that the hair doesn't look too choppy when you cut it. It's going to make it look more natural and less kind of chunky. And so I just gradually work my way through the bangs, just cutting upwards. Also be careful not to cut your hand. And that's why I like to hold the hair a little bit above where I'm actually cutting it. And just gradually work my way around there.
I don't have a foam head
Once
foam
I've done
though.
my first little run through, I just pull on the hair a little bit just to get any little bits of hair to fall out. And then I like to just take a look at it, see if it's all even, see if I'm happy with it. There are some hairs that are a little bit longer, so I'll go in and just cut those. Here it's looking a little bit long, so I'll just go in there and snip it a little bit more. You can also just comb it out to get any little bits of hair out, and also to check the levels of the hair. And I'm pretty happy with that. So that is more or less how you would cut a wig. So next we're gonna be talking about styling wigs. I'm gonna be going over teasing, spraying, and spiking. I feel like those are kind of the main pillars of wig styling. I will say that I don't have a lot of experience with like really intense wig styling, so I can really only kind of go over these basic steps, but hopefully this will be helpful. So I have my very disheveled tracer wig to show you guys as an example. So we're gonna first talk about teasing. Teasing a wig is basically when you back comb it in order to give it volume, so it's good for things like spiking, or if you're wanting to give more volume to your bangs or like the base of the wig, that's basically what you would do to achieve that. So we're gonna just tease a little section of the wig. So you take the portion of hair that you want to tease, you take your comb, and you literally just do this. And then once you let it go, it stays like that. That is basically what teasing is. Now, obviously, it can look really messy once you've actually teased it. So once you've done the teasing to actually give it the volume, you're then going to want to kind of go over it and make sure that the outside of it looks neat. So I just do this by gently combing it just to clean it up a little bit. And that's kind of the gist of how you clean it up. Then you can go back and tease it a little bit more, clean it up a little bit, and now you have this nice piece of hair sticking out. That's kind of the general thing that you're going to want to do to give it volume. So to keep it in place, we're then going to spray it. The main product that most cosplayers swear by is Got2b hairspray. So that's definitely the one that I recommend. So we're just going to go and we're just going to spray this piece of hair like so. Now, when you actually
pause. Got2b hairspray. Wait. There's different kinds. Was it this freeze one? Glue, sorry. Glue? 41,000. 41,000 thingies. Maybe it's this one? Yeah. Glued. It is glued. Okay. Alright, and let's find the smaller bottle of it. It's like $9. Okay. Wish list? Alright.
to be hairspray. So that's definitely the one that I recommend. So we're just gonna go and we're just gonna spray this piece of hair like so. Now, when you actually spray the hair, little beads will form on the wig from the actual hairspray. So I like to go in and just slick it all down so that you don't have those beads showing. Then I'm gonna spray it under there, slick it down again. And that's just kind of the gist of spraying your wig.
Oh, adds up.
Now we're gonna talk about spiking. So for spiking, I use the Got2b glued spiking glue. I'll just show you guys what it looks like. It's pretty gross looking. So this is just like a goop that you get. Oh no, it's spilling everywhere.
Spiking glue.
I'm an idiot. You work it in through your hand to make
Spiking
it into
glue
kind
is
of a
also
glue.
another $10.
Delicious. Then you're gonna go and you're just gonna work it through the tip of the spike to give it a more kind of spiky finish. But you basically just do that.
Professional streamer.
Because they are disgusting. And then I'm just gonna clip this. I have a little bit of extra hair here at the top. Just gonna clip that off. So once that's all dried and everything, you will have a nice kind of crisp tip to your spike. This is a very messy spike. I apologize. This is just to give you guys an idea of what to do. Obviously, if I was spiking this for real, it would look a lot better than this. But
You
this
should
is
spike
just
it
kind
for
of a
real
test piece
though.
to show you guys. So I didn't make it like the best looking, but hopefully this is good enough to give you guys an idea of what you should do.
But we want to
but
see you
anyway,
do it properly.
that is our finished spike. All right, so there, okay, oh gosh, I have hair, there's hair everywhere. I feel like this was an incredibly awkward tutorial video. I apologize, but hopefully you guys get the gist of what I'm trying to show you guys. Those are kind of the basics of how to brush, trim, and style wigs. Despite this being a very awkward video, I hope...
Okay, Lydia. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Let's look at this one.
Here is my wig tutorial of how I turn the left wig into the right.
Your face is silly. Oh my god. If I had a wig thingy, a head form. There was something I saw. There's one about like making a head form, and then making sure that you like place your features on the head form, and you make a custom size like head thingy so you can put your wig on it, right? And then when you have it on there, wherever it lays and stuff will lay correctly on your face. So I thought that was an interesting thing to learn about. I wonder if we can find it and see here.
Right wig, as well as some just useful general wig styling tips along the way. First, let's go over what I used. So I used a wig clamp. As you can see, it's clamped to the table. This was really helpful.
Oh, that's her voice?
It's a good quality wig headstand.
Interesting.
Then I used Got to Be Glued for the finishing touches, but I wouldn't say it's a necessity. But then you do have to have the Got to Be Glued hairspray. I would advise using a hair comb instead of a brush to brush out wigs. It's just, I find it a lot easier and helps get less tangled. I've then got a clothes steamer. It can really help redirect the direction of some hairs.
She has that that newscaster voice. Today in Toronto, there was a shooting down in Dundas Square, and wait, no, hang on, I'm sounding like Siri. Never mind.
But it's not a necessity.
I can't do what she does.
A hairdryer, which definitely is. You'll need just a cheap hairdryer.
Velvet? Oh, really?
Then there's a crimper for those.
I haven't seen a lot of Husband Hotel.
And then, which is more specialized, I got another wig because I wanted to add a different color hair strand to my Tartaglia wig, which I'll show how I did in a bit. The last two items are little hairbands to section your wig up when you're going to choose how you want your spikes to appear, and then little hair clips which really help secure the wig in place, which I'm about to show you next. As you can see here, there are little hair clips in the wig head, and this really helps when trying to secure the wig once done onto your head, and would really recommend. Most wigs don't have it in, as you can see here, so I recommend sewing them in if you can. And then you want to make sure your wig is ready and complete before you start styling. So for any of you who know Genshin Impact, you'll know that Tartaglia has a little white strip in his hair. This wasn't included in the base wig, and I knew it wouldn't be, so I bought a very cheap blonde wig, and then as you can see here, I very carefully cut out strands. I cut out in the end 2 strands.
Okay.
I had to stitch these in place.
Pause. So, there's something that I'm having a look at doing, right? For one of my wigs, specifically for my Iron Mouse one. I want to make the little heart thingy, but this lady, even though she bought an entire wig, she could have bought extensions. Extensions might have been cheaper. So it's kind of curious, like, the first order is to buy a wig, but what about hair extensions? Oh, is that right, baby dog?
And in order to do so, I had to very carefully separate the parting to put it in where I wanted it to be. And then with
I guess
stitching,
it also depends on,
went
like,
in and out, just a normal running stitch, back and forth a few times, and I did overlap them, as you can see earlier,
like,
to make them just that bit thicker.
If she's doing a lot of cosplays, it makes sense.
Thin, so you want to make sure you add as much as you need, and make sure to trim off any loose bits that you don't need, because you don't want it bulking or showing in the wig. Some general tips to be mindful of whilst you're doing this is make sure you're very careful where your needle goes and that you don't accidentally pull in hairs into the wig. If you do notice this, it's quite simple, just get a needle and unpick them before it gets too bad and there are too many clumps. This is what it looks like afterwards. I didn't add too much as he only has a very small strand, but here you can see what 2 little strands of hair looks like. You can always add more, but do it at this point before you start styling, and if it doesn't flow in the direction you want it to, a steamer will help with this. Next, you want to really understand your wig. So what helped
Do I
me
have to buy a
is by
steamer as
drawing
well?
it really helped me learn which spike is which. So I went over a template, as you can see here, and I labelled each spike, which I could use as reference when referring back how to style my wig. Now it's time to keep referring to your reference image and section the hair out as you want it. As you can see here, lots going on. This is all videos of me separating the hair out according to my photo.
That's why she said the tiny bands.
By this point, you can change it later on. This isn't the hard deadline of separating things out, but it's good to try and do it as you think you want it now.
I was just watching a show as well.
You can see the little dark marks on my hands.
I was just watching someone play Genshin.
Hair colors. I would advise using heat-resistant gloves when using a crimper, which we'll do in the next stage. Then if you have any spikes that go against the natural flow of the hair, this is where I'd recommend introducing the steamer. It can be done with back combing and hairspray and the hairdryer, but it can just look a bit more natural if you use a steamer. I'd hold the spike in the position I want it and then just steam it, and then it will naturally stay like that, hopefully. Sorry, my hand's in the way, it's just the way I had to hold it. Then for a spike pointing upwards, I'd get the elastic band and tie it quite near the base. This will help just reinforce that it's meant to be.
Oh, it's writing on her hand. I thought it was like a scar.
I would then go over and crimp the sections. So I take each individual strand / spike that I wanted and crimp them as a strand. I wouldn't combine them with other strands. This can just help all the clumps kind of stay together. Before you crimp each strand, just make sure to brush it out so that all the hairs are trying to go in the right direction. Then you can see here, I don't just crimp once. If you crimp once, I find that leaves quite big marks. If you see on the left, I'll put a video of what it looks like when I crimp multiple times. And I'll go over it again, maybe usually a bit quicker, and over again and again, and that kind of helps disguise the crimp marks so you don't see the bumpy effect that crimping can leave, and it will just make it look a little bit better if you don't want to see those crimp marks. So the reason I'm not using hairspray at the moment is because if I spray the crimped bit now, it will get on bits that aren't crimped, and then I find if you crimp something that's already been covered in hairspray, it gives you a different effect, as I found out with my Dainsleif wig, and I prefer it before. So what I do now is, you'll see me, I go over all the wig, crimp all the wig, and then I will go and hairspray the bits into shape. Crimping the wig can take a really long time, so as you can see I'm actually watching Miraculous in the background. It's quite an easy one to watch. You want something easy that you don't have to focus on too much, because you do need to have your eyes and attention on the wig. And you can see I've got multiple screens going on here. So if you look at our left hand screen, here you can see I separated the layers to try and give me that thinner hair strand to crimp. This usually leaves you with a better effect, but again it does take more time, and it depends how much detail you want to go into and how fluffy you want it. If you can then see on the right hand side, I am crimping and just going over all the different sections. Make sure not to miss out a section. So this side of the wig hasn't been crimped yet, but if I start to turn it round, this side of the wig has been crimped. You can kind of see it's a bit more 3D and it's got that volume. Crimping a wig does make it easier to style and can help it hold its form a bit longer, but it does have its downsides. Once crimping it all and walking away and seeing it in a fresh light, you might realise there are some crimp marks that you want to go over and get rid of. Possibly even straighten the top layer of each strand. That will really help get away them crimp marks, which I didn't do here. So now comes the fun part of styling the wig in the section you want it. So I refer to my reference image, identify which spike I want it to be. I then go over and brush out each spike. You want it all to be kind of going in the right way. If there is a spike that doesn't go in the right way, or some hair that just doesn't naturally fall where you want it to,
we'll just do it on stream.
The steamer can really help with this. But I don't have
do it.
So
my.
I brushed out the
I don't think my styling would have to be this much if I did this much. But it's a lot more cost to add to the whole
I sprayed some hairspray on it. You don't want to
pause this real quick. Like I was going through and checking like what else have I missed in my calculations for the cosplay stuff. and the cosplay girl on Ko-fi, and I wrote the budget as $250. I thought that was being generous for like extras and stuff. This Sheba forgot that she has to replace all the makeup that she has because it's all super old and expired, and yeah. Makeup is not cheap. And then there's the contact lenses that I had to order just to make sure they come in on time. There's a petticoat I probably have to order. There's some wig care stuff. There's so much. I've been writing it all down and keeping track just to like figure out what is the actual budget and how much of the Ko-fi goal can actually cover it. The rest is just kind of coming out of my own right now, my own built up savings, which is not a lot. And then I gotta also make sure I save enough. I want to be able to feed everyone for at least tonight or something. We'll see. We'll see. I wanna feed people too.
Want to go too close or too much to start with. You can always add more if you need, especially adding a lot around the tip, because this is the bit you want to hold together and that will help hold its shape for longer. You can then, if need, add more hairspray, but if you add too much you can leave this white dewy residue stuff on the wig that doesn't look very natural. So hairspray and then hairdryer, and then hopefully your spike will be in place. So I'm going to show you again from a slightly different angle how I'm going to exactly do this spike. So brushing it out, and a few tips I've found is when you brush it, brush with the hairdryer slightly tilted downwards. That will help get out any knots, and always brush from the bottom. If your wig is really tangled, brush from the bottom up. That means any knots that are in the bottom will brush out, and then any new knots will brush into it and it won't all clump together. A tip I have learned and would definitely give to people, especially if you're working with longer wigs, is when you hair dry the wig, try and hair dry down where possible, and don't put it on the full blow setting. Put it on the higher heat if you have. I have two options.
Okay.
But don't put it on the full blown setting, because this can completely mess up the wig and blow it out the way you want it to go. And if you blow down instead of up, there's less chance of the strands splitting and going everywhere. So you'll see here, I try and blow down when styling it into position. The only time I put the hairdryer up is when I'm trying to dry some bits underneath the curls, and that I do make sure I have on the least pressurized.
I'm glad there's like multiple views, because you can like watch both at the same time.
I would wait until the end until cutting, but I realised some of the side bits were really extra long and they were way too long. So always wait until you've crimped and styled it before cutting, I find, unless you know there's a huge amount that needs to be taken off, because when you crimp you can lose some length, and then again when you style you can lose some length, so you might not need as much as you think. And always try and cut maybe at a slight angle, or use thinning scissors are preferred. But I didn't have thinning scissors, so I just tried to cut some smaller bits off where I could restyling them on top if needed.
Right now.
So as you can see, I was styling all the different bits. I tried to, because of how characters are, the back bits, instead of just stick out, which would make the sides stick out a lot, I tried to sweep them very slightly backwards. As you can see in the top left, the spikes aren't sticking out.
Yuffie's just making some noises. Let me just be right back. Checking on doggos. That's a interesting sound she was making. Yeah, let me just be right back. Sorry. Okay. I'll let them outside for a little bit. Seems to be good. Let's keep watching.
They are slightly facing the backwards. I think this just looks a bit more natural. This is just a personal choice of mine of how I style. And then if you see on the bottom left, I am trying to stick some spikes up. You'll have to maybe backcomb a bit of the base. I wouldn't advise backcombing too much, as this can slowly ruin the wig. And just go over and over the spikes with hairspray if you need. And I did crimp some bits that, again, I thought I didn't crimp enough the first time, but I'd advise trying to do that all earlier, but just explaining why you might see me do some extra crimping here. You can also see it's not just for a goofy design. I put the little child with the eyeballs on. I want to see where my eyeballs would be when I put the wig on. This really helps kind of measure up how long each section could be. So that's why I did that, and it helps me kind of style around the shape of the head. It's definitely rewarding seeing it all come together, which you can at this point. So here you can see the non-styled part versus the styled part of my child wig, and I do know some bits were long, so I did trim them again at the end. But that's the difference, so there we go. Once all styled, this is where I did the trimming. You can see I looked at the reference picture and I picked up the scissors and I tried to like mark out where, in accordance to the eye, it should be cut. And I'd always advise just trying it on, seeing how it fits on your face before cutting anything, because it can be deceiving what a wig cap looks like compared to your head and the shape. So just have a think about how you want to do this and maybe try it on if possible. Here you can see in a bit more detail of how I cut the spikes. So I tried to cut it down to make it look a bit more natural instead of, as again, going straight across. Don't do that. Thinning scissors, hairdresser thinning scissors would be a lot better here for you. And I resprayed and styled and went into the spike that I wanted it to be. Ta-da! Now I went over and did the touch up of the wigs. As you can see, here's a bit of strand that just kind of flaps on the top. It isn't sticking down. So to prevent your hands that are probably very sticky with wig glue at this point, I sprayed some glue on it and then got the end of my pointy comb to kind of smooth it down and then put some hair dryer on it, because the glue is less likely to stick to your comb than your sticky hand at this point, because I can promise you your hands and probably phone will be covered in wig glue by this point. Now once you've gone around, trimmed any loose bits of hairs, it's time to put the got to be glued on, and now this really helps your spikes stay in place. You might realise here, as you can see, it's a bit separated, it's quite easy to go apart. The got to be hairspray hasn't fully secured it, so I put a very little bit, as you can see here, not much. You don't even need that amount because it can make it look a bit white, and gently spread it on the tips of the hair. Now you can use the hair dryer to heat this up, but it won't completely dry. This is something you'll have to leave overnight. But I can promise you, once you've left it and you don't need much, this will hold, like it will feel like a rock when you touch it, and it will be a lot better for if you're planning to take this wig into a con or outside in a cosplay, or even just constant use inside. It really helps keep the wig maintained styled as it is and holds the spikes together and stops them fraying. You will find your wigs will always need a little bit of a touch up, and in a video I redid Dia's wig because I had partied too hard in it and it got really frayed. But this, going over the wig with this and just smoothing it out, can really help. And then you can see here is my speedy putting on wig glue. I can promise you this is at 35 times speed. It does take longer than this, but then your wig is done. The next morning I went over to try and see how hard my spikes are, and as you can see here, I give it a good flick. They remain in place. This is because of the crimping and the wig glue. And here's the finished result. Feel free to check me out on Instagram or TikTok, Mollies and Lollies.
Hey Queen, it's Tartaglia, but you can call me Child.
I make content for free, so please like and subscribe and comment if I've helped you. Thank you, bye!
Bye! Basic wig styling tools for cosplay.
Hello friends! Welcome back to our channel. This is your favorite cosplay tita, Yuta Chibana, aka Harukasama. Hello! I am a cosplayer based in Japan. I've been doing this since 2009. Yes, I am old. So if you like cosplay stories, tips, how-tos, and everything in between.
I think I recognize the art there on the top left.
Then please subscribe to our channel. For today's video, I will be talking about the basic tools that you will need to style your own wigs. So if you haven't seen the other videos from my wig series, in part 1, I talked about the basic things that you need to know about cosplay wigs. In part 2, I talked about how to wash and detangle your wigs. Part 3, I talked about how to keep your wig safely on your head securely for cosplay. And now we're gonna talk about some basic tools that you can use for cosplay. So in this video, we will be assuming that you're a newbie and you don't have a lot of budget. And as usual, we have to say our disclaimer. I am not an expert. I am just a cosplayer who has been doing this for
I'm not an expert. I'm just a cosplayer. I love it.
more than a decade. I am not a pro at wig styling, nor am I claiming to be. But I am pretty decent at it, that I can look okay, and that I can fix the bangs of my wig to kind of resemble the hairstyle of the characters. So the things or the items that I will be mentioning today, I will be telling you the cheapo version, and as well as the things that you can buy if you do decide to invest on more proper tools for wig styling. First off, I suggest that you get a variety of brushes and combs in different sizes. You would need a fine tooth comb and a wide tooth comb. I suggest that you get a wide tooth comb that has a handle because it's easier to brush longer wigs when you have something to hold on to. The fine tooth comb you will use for general sectioning and teasing of the wigs. And I suggest that you get a what's called a rat's tail comb. The one with a metal end, preferably. Plastic is okay, but if you can find one, get one that has a metal pointy end, because you can use it by heating it up and then twisting, rubbing some wig fibers onto it, and then you can make tiny little curly tendrils.
That's a thought.
And then when you get some funds or you want to invest in more tools, you can use you can buy a professional teasing brush because it's easier. It really is easier to tease the wig with a teasing comb. But a fine tooth comb will be just fine. It's just that there are more bristles in a professional teasing comb, so it's easier to to tease out the wig and back comb it. So there. And then you can also get a detangling brush. And it would be easier to take out the tangles of your
More
wig.
brushes than my hair has ever touched.
You would also need lots, and I mean lots of clips and clamps in different sizes so that you can partition off and section off the wigs and hold them into place as you work on your wig. Sewing pins, sewing needles. You know, the everyday basic sewing pins and needles. So you can use it to section off the wigs, part them, and visualize how the spikes and tendrils will look like and hold them into place. And then when you get more funds, you can look up extra long sewing needles and sewing pins. They're a lot longer than the regular sewing needles and pins. And it's easier to style and hold the sections in place with these longer needles and pins. I've seen a lot of wig stylists, specifically wig stylists that do drag hair, drag wigs use this. Sharp scissors. These are pretty self-explanatory. You use them to cut the wig to the length that you want. You don't need to buy professional hair cutting shears and scissors just yet because those can be expensive. If you want to keep the sharpness and to keep the scissors in good condition, you have to use them only for one specific purpose. So for example, you want to use these scissors for wig styling. So put a label on them and never use them for anything else. So I have a variety of scissors. Actually, I have a lot of scissors. One scissor is just for wig styling. One scissor is just for cutting fabric and threads. I have one scissor for cutting rubber sheet. That's the best way that you can keep your scissors sharp and in good condition. Don't use them for anything else. And then if you do decide to level up, then go get yourself some nice, sharp, professional hair cutting scissors and some thinning shears. They look like regular scissors, but one side has like that comb looking thingy. So you use it to thin out the wig, and it's easier. It will make your life easier. If you don't have thinning shears, you can just cut the wig like this, little by little, and it would thin it out. But for me, I sometimes like to use straight facial razors because it's easier to little by little. Hair dryers or blower. Some blowers just have on and off.
Blower.
But if you can, please get the ones that have high heat setting. I think what really holds the styling into place is after using product or hairspray on the wig is using a hair dryer to quickly dry up the product and hold it into place. A wig head or a mannequin head. You can actually use anything that is sturdy enough to hold your wig into place. I've seen people who use big cans to hold their wigs. I've seen people who put styrofoam balls on sticks and use that as a wig stand. Long ago, when I was a baby cosplayer, I used to style wigs directly on my head. A wig head or a mannequin head is very useful because you can have full use of your hands and you can easily see the back and other angles of the wig that you're working on. So there are styrofoam wig heads, there are the usual mannequin type wig heads, and there are the canvas type wig heads. The styrofoam head is very cheap, but me personally, it didn't last me very long because it eventually had gotten too many holes on it and I had to replace it eventually. And I don't really like using plastic or styrofoam because we are earth friendly here. I'm trying to do my best for the earth by reducing my carbon footprint, so I never purchased another styrofoam head again. I like to use the mannequin head, the one with the face, because it's easier to style the wig when you can visualize a face. You know where the bangs would go, where the ears are, how long you need to cut. Canvas types usually are just the general shape of the head, so you don't know how long you need to cut the wig and things like that. Though I would have to say that you have to be careful with mannequin heads because not all of the time they would be accurate to your head size. Most of them are smaller than usual. So if you do get a mannequin head, try to measure your head first and modify the wig head accordingly. Usually the male looking wig heads are more accurate to human head sizes. Now I am using the tripod type, but it depends on how frequent you're going to be styling wigs and the availability of space that you have. So at first I got the clamp type, thinking that it's easier to put away when I'm not using it, but it ended up being unused because I didn't have the proper surface for it. So if you're gonna get a clamp type of wig stand, make sure that you have a desk or a table or any surface that is sturdy enough that you can latch it onto. And the tripod type is also good because you can get ones that are really tall and you can adjust it accordingly to the length of the wig that you're working on. And it's easier because you don't have to crouch when you're styling your wig. But the drawback is you also need to get yourself some weights so that it doesn't topple over when you do style your wigs. Hair iron. So this is a very versatile tool. For the life of me, I cannot use a curling iron. So I use the hair iron to straighten my wigs and detangle and also for curling. So what you can do is you heat up the wig and then if you want to curl it, you just wrap it around a curler or something like a rod or a pipe. If you can use a curling iron, good for you. I envy you so much. But if you can't, just use a hair iron and get yourself some hair curlers in different sizes so that you can curl your wig. But some hair irons also just have on and off settings. They don't have temperature settings. If you feel like the hair iron is getting too hot and it's burning the wig fibers, just turn it off for a little bit and then turn it on again so that it doesn't get too hot. If you do decide to level up, get those fancy hair irons with the
Temperature
different
settings.
attachments. The ones that you can use to straighten your hair, curl your hair, and also crimp.
Okay.
That's really nice. And then when you do have more,
Wait, there's one that can do all of
please
that.
get yourself some handheld steamer. I got one recently and I love it because not only can you use it to heat style your wig, you can also use it to get rid of wrinkles on your costume and use it to clean stuff in your house, stuffed toys, curtains. I recently got one for myself and I love it so much. But I made the mistake of buying the cheapest one. I didn't check the size. So I got a big ass one and it's kind of heavy.
Big-ass
So
one.
if you can, get a handheld steamer that is travel friendly so that you can take it with you when you do cosplay and photo shoots. For tying up your wigs, I suggest that you use rubber bands. Not the colored ones, those cheap ones. Use the flesh colored ones. Those are usually stronger. If you can get tiny elastics, those tiny rubber looking garterized thingies, they're a lot more stronger. Drag queen wig stylists use zip ties, cable ties for tying off wigs because I think they're much stronger. For sticking wig wefts and fibers, you can use any old white glue, Elmer's glue, or any white glue from the bookstore or hardware is fine. But you can also use hot glue. If you have funds and you really want to stick stuff to the wig, use uho glue. Uho glue is amazing. It's multi-purpose. You can also use it not only for wig fibers, but to stick elements, trims on your costumes. If you want to really secure the fibers onto your wig, you can sew them on. I suggest using clear nylon thread and a curved needle. Plus, if you use a clear nylon thread, you don't have to keep buying thread that is the same color as the wig. So it's gonna be a all-purpose kind of thread because it's clear, so it's not visible even if the color doesn't match. This one is not really necessary, but I love it because it saves me time, especially during cleanup. Just search for hair cutting cloth or hair cutting cape. Mine looks like this. I got it from Assist Twigs. At first, when I saw it, I thought it was stupid and overly priced. But then I decided I have a bit of money to spare, so I decided to get it. You put it on the wig stand, and instead of the fibers going on the floor and making it hard to clean up, it's all in one place and you can just grab it and throw the wig fibers away. So it's amazing! And the most important item is hairspray. Again, brands don't really matter, but the best one is the Got to Be Glued freeze spray. That one is very expensive and it's too early to invest on it, especially if you're just learning, because Got to Be is more of a permanent. It's used for more permanent styles. And if you're just learning, you're gonna be making a lot of mistakes. So, sayang lang yung pera. It's just gonna go to waste if you use something expensive and then you're just gonna have to wash the wig because you made a mistake. But any old hairspray, as long as it's the hard type, get that one. Some hairsprays have glitter on them, so be careful if you don't want your wigs to be kira-kira. A crimper is very useful because you can use it to fluff up your wigs, and wigs that have been crimped, they hold styles better. So when you do get funds, get a big crimper. Be careful because when you order online, they might seem all the same, but most cheap crimpers, they're the tiny little things. And if you're... So now, let's talk about some basic tips for wig styling. Don't be too conscious about brands just yet. If it works, then it's fine. Just use what you can for now. You don't need to buy expensive tools and items because you never know what will happen in the future. You may be into cosplay now, but sometimes life gets in the way. You have to prioritize your studies, your family, and things like that. Only buy expensive items when you're sure that you can get multiple use out of these items. So, ample time in styling your wigs. So, even if you're just cutting bangs or trimming a wig,
I'm like trying to think what are the most expensive items on the list. The hair dryer, the hair straightener. How much are crimpers? Google. Amazon. Hair crimper. They're kind of different these days. Looks like I see like wavy things, but I don't see like oh, there it is. There's one. There's one. Like $30. Which one's the expensive one? Wait. Like it all obviously it all adds up. Okay, so oh, interchangeable plates. That's fancy. No, thank you though. I think professional series hair crimper. Wait, so wait, what's the difference between a big one and a small one? It's just the size, right? But the big one's not really that big. Maybe it just feels like it is. What is this? Oh, is this what you were talking about? You can you can crimp or straighten or wait, what? I've never seen anything like this. A curling iron, isn't that's just how you straighten. That's how you curl hair on a flat iron though. Consistent temperature technology. Can you like adjust the temperature? Anyway, sorry.
It's gonna be scary, especially if it's your first time. So it's better to give yourself more time, and then when you finish early, you can just relax. If you're using a tutorial to style your wig, watch that tutorial several times before you tackle your own wig. Most likely, when you style your wig, as you watch the tutorial, you tend to make more mistakes. So at least familiarize yourself with the steps that you need to make before you do it on your own wig. So I believe in the power of manifesting and visualizing. Burn that tutorial into your head, into your memory before you do it onto your wig. But you know, if you're a newbie, you are going to make a lot of mistakes. Don't worry about it. It's how you learn. Styling wigs can be a bit messy. Sometimes you have to work with sticky hairspray and glue. So it's good to have a damp cloth right beside you. Put that damp cloth in a Tupperware container or in a plate or something that you don't use for eating. As you work on your wig and you get sticky fingers, rather than leaving the wig and going to wash your hands constantly, you can just wipe those sticky residue of your hands on the damp cloth. It's always better to work with a clean base. So wash your wigs before you style them. And you never know, you might like how you style the wig, and you never know when you're gonna wash it again. You will most likely, probably, be putting the wig on and off your head several times to check how it looks on your face. So before you start cutting it on the wig head, I suggest that you put it on first and try to, map it out. See how you are going to cut it, plan it on your face first, and check out how it's going to frame your face. Constantly putting it on and putting it back on the wig head and styling it is just a normal part of the process. When cutting your wig, never cut straight horizontally unless you want straight blunt cuts. Always cut vertically like this, slowly. And if you're not sure, do it in sections. Start with the under layer, so that even if you make a mistake or you cut it too short, then it's not really obvious, and then you can work your way to the top. I mentioned it earlier, and this is very cliche, but as with everything, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes help us learn, so don't worry too much about if it's not perfect yet. You will eventually get better the more that you do it. So just do it slow, do it a little at a time, and make those mistakes and get better and learn. Watch a lot of tutorials and wig styling videos and follow wig stylists. Just watch and fill yourself up with knowledge and familiarize yourself with the techniques that you can use for wig styling. So there are some people that I really admire when it comes to wig styling. I suggest that you also watch their videos and learn from them. I love James Manfield. She is a amazing drag queen and wig stylist, and I like her made of real human hair. Cosplay wigs are usually made from synthetic fibers. They are not made of real human hair. So don't use oils on them. Don't use organic blah 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 oil chuchu on them, because they're not the same as real human hair. Those will not work. Stick to hairsprays. Gels, not so much. They don't really work well on cosplay wigs. So the best products that you can use are glue-based hairspray, hard type hairsprays, as well as glues. Mousse gels, stay away. They don't really work on wigs. When you're constantly afraid of making mistakes and you have time restrictions or restrictions in general set on yourself, you tend to be more nervous, and that makes you make more mistakes. So don't rush yourself and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's how people learn. Last tip, follow me for more cosplay related tips, tutorials, and videos. Subscribe to our...
Okay.
Hi guys, this is Regan of Calvert Crunchy's Cosplay, and today I'm going to present the art of extreme wig styling. This is actually one of my favorite panels to give. I've given it a couple times, including at last year's MCM London over the summer.
That's
it's
5
really
years ago.
one of my favorites to give, and for anyone who either wants a refresher or didn't get to make it to the panel, this is going to be my online version. Usually what I like to do is go over the techniques that I personally use in all of my extreme wigs. And one thing I want to cover before we really get started is, well, what is an extreme wig? There's a lot of ways to describe that. Honestly, any kind of cosplay wig is a little extreme in my opinion, but what I refer to by extreme is something that is really larger than life, you know, something that cannot be achieved with someone's own hair or without an extreme amount of understructure or styling product. Last year I actually came out with a book on extreme wig styling, ironically called The Art of Extreme Wig Styling. And in here, this is where I cover these general techniques, because to be honest, there's lots and lots of ways you can apply these. But for me, I generally use 2, maybe 3 really big techniques for all of my wigs. And those techniques that I really love are wefting, teasing, as well as foam work. That's a little much to cover in an hour, but we're gonna go as fast as possible and hopefully show you guys the ropes on how to make your own extreme wigs. So before we get started, one thing to bear in mind is that this wig is made up of a mesh cap with a number of hair fiber wefts sewn in. If you actually flip your wig inside out and you look closely at the inside, you can actually see all of these little rows of fiber right here. Those look like this if you were to actually take it out of the wig. And the more of these you have in the wig, the thicker your hair is going to become, just because the more actual fiber is going to be sewn into your wig netting. So this is an important thing to bear in mind for a couple of reasons. First of all, the more of these we have, the thicker the wig is, which is really important for extreme styles that need more hair than a person has on their head. You can also add more of these wefts into your wig, and then suddenly you've got a double thick wig. There's a couple ways to get that hair. One way is to just buy extra packs of wefts from certain dealers. I know Art of Wigs, Epic
Oh.
Cosplay, a lot of these dealers sell matching wefts that will match your exact wig, but they come in long, long packages. That is definitely one way to do it. If you are not able to do that, or maybe you bought your wig from a seller who does not sell wefts, you can actually harvest these out. So for instance, this came out of this wig. You can kind of see where I've cut it out right here. But it's really easy to take these out of your wig, although a little bit time consuming. Essentially, these are sewn onto our wig by the factory, and we can just as easily pop them right off and then sew them back onto them ourselves. When you are de-wefting a wig, there's two places where the weft line is sewn. Underneath, the hair itself is actually sewn onto this little strip of fabric. Don't do that. Don't take that out, because otherwise your hair is just going to fall right out, and that's not useful for you. What you instead want to seam rip is where the weft right here is actually sewn onto our elastic or sewn onto our netting. Once we pop that little seam, I'm going to do one a little bit low in the back. Once we pop that out, suddenly it's not attached anymore. And then we can remove our weft from the wig. And if you are really, really devoted, you can de-weft an entire wig that way and then sew it into a different base wig, and then suddenly you have a double thick wig, which is really, really good for styling. It's a lot of work. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it is certainly a way to immediately increase the volume in your wig. You can also make sure that you purchase your wig from somewhere that has very thick wigs to start with. So for instance, this is an Epic Cosplay wig. It has not been double wefted at all. It just came this thick. It's almost unmanageably thick, actually. So depending on your style, this may not be the wig for you. But for short styles that I want to, say, spike or tease into big shapes, I really like this. I really like Arda. Anything that's a very thick, easy to work with wig is what you want to start with. If you could not purchase a very thick wig like that, you can always create your own very thick wig with that wefting method. So for teasing, and I'll probably put in a couple examples over my voice here. For teasing, what we're really talking about is creating a large shape made out of just hair. With extreme wigs, a lot of times, well, really almost all the time, I will have something in my wig called an understructure. And that is the thing that is going to make the shape larger than life. Like if we look at these example wigs, there's no way that that is a person's hair. And honestly, there's no way that that's even the wig itself. Like if we look here at this wig, this is actually my wig that I often tease during panels, and so she's not looking that great. We've got a little bit of tease going on here. But if we look at the portion that has not been teased, and if I say, well, I'm going to make a spike out of this, and I just hold it out like this into my spike, that doesn't look that great because the hair is being compressed down and we've ended up with a really thin, stringy looking spike. That's not what I like to see in my wigs. And yeah, we could do this and I could spray a bunch of hairspray or got to be on it and make it stay, but at the end of the day, this is not the larger than life, really thick, fluffy spike that I want. I could add in another wig's worth of hair fiber, or 3 or 4 or 5, but at a point that's going to become really, really heavy and unmanageable. So that's also not what I want to do. What I instead want to do is create an understructure that's going to fluff this hair out, kind of form a surface or a more solid thing for it to grasp onto, and that way I'm going to have a nice big fluffy spike that does not weigh a lot at all. And for the understructure that I'm talking about for this particular styling technique, it's going to be made out of hair. You can make an understructure out of anything. With foam work, obviously it's made out of foam or something else hard like that, but for teasing, the tease is in fact the understructure. When we tease up the hair, we're creating a very kinked texture. And because the hair is all jagged and kinked like that and no longer straight, it no longer really lays flat against itself the way that this does. This is nice and silky and smooth. And as a result, it compresses down way more than we want it to. But instead, this texturized hair, there's a lot of airspace in here and the hair is pushing against itself. And as a result, when I try and push it, it doesn't want to stay like that. Like I can like do that and compress it that way, but that's not how it naturally wants to go. It naturally wants to be like this. And so this is the structure that we really want our spike to be made out of. And for large spikes, I actually also like to lay smooth hair on top. The bigger the spike, the more you need to texturize the hair. And at a point, I personally don't love the look of super teased up hair. I think for medium-sized spikes, it's totally fine. But for large ones, I like to actually hide the understructure completely, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a minute. This is a tease that I put in earlier and have brushed out. And one thing to note is, well, if you brushed it out, why is it staying like that? Why is it not returned to this flat, silky kind of look? And the answer is that wigs are plastic. And like other kinds of plastics, like thermoplastics like Warbler that you can heat up and they become soft and malleable, you can bend them into new and cool shapes, and when they cool, they're gonna stay in that shape. That's what happens here. And this is why our primary source of styling is not actually going to be the glue and the hairspray that we're putting in, because this is going to fall out over time. Some are more permanent than others. With foam work, I use a permanent glue so that it does not fall out. But if we're talking spiking and teasing, you're not going to want to use a permanent glue like white PVA glue. You want to use hairspray, Gatsby, that kind of stuff. And this is not permanent. On a hot day or after walking around the con for a while, or if you fall down, this is gonna lose its hold a little bit. So this should not be your primary hold. If you go to try and do a spike, and if you let it go and it falls down, this is probably not going to be enough to last you through the day. Instead, your primary source of hold is going to be heat. That can be a blow dryer like this. I actually really like using a good flat iron if you want to get the hair really, really hot. So like if you're doing like ringlets or a big tease like this, the hotter you get it, the more malleable and soft your hair is going to become. As a note, don't use a heat gun. That's too much heat. These wigs are heat resistant. They're good up to 400 Fahrenheit, I believe, but beyond that, you are going to fry the wig. So don't go over that, and also double check to make sure your wig is heat resistant. There's a couple more realistic or Kanekalon wigs that are not, and for those, you might slag the plastic if you heat it up a little too much. So just double check before you get started. But after I have heated up the hair, I've formed it into the new texture, and then I let it cool. Even after I brush it out, that texture is still here because that's the new texture and the direction that the plastic remembers being in. So this is a great way to permanently introduce volume, texture, some strength that I'll show you in just a second. This is a hold that is probably going to stay up for much, much longer than this. If you have a good physical hold, you can use this as kind of the tail end to tweak your styling a little bit and make it a little slicker, but this is going to be what is going to keep your wig intact for much, much longer. So always add a physical hold of some kind to your styling. And for teasing, for a big tease like this, what I like to do is separate out a little bit of the hair. Like I said, texture is good, but too much texture can be a little distracting, I think. And so if I'm doing a really big spike that I know is going to need a lot of the texture to have that level of strength and largeness that I need, it's going to be too much. And so my intention is that I eventually want to cover it with unteased hair. And so I'll end up with a large teased spike that has smooth hair on the outside. I really like doing that with big shapes. With smaller ones, like if you have a wig maybe maybe something that's spiked all over, your spikes don't necessarily need to be as large, so I don't think you need to do this. But for big ones, I think it's quite helpful. I usually will tease the wig 3 times, maybe even more if I need more texture. The nice thing about this is if you try it and you say, oh God, it's not teased nearly enough, it doesn't look right, that's fine, just do it again. That's why I think this method is pretty beginner friendly. This is already standing up pretty well on its own, but let's see if we can make it a little bit better. So with teasing, I will use a teasing brush like this. This is my favorite thing to use. There's also teasing combs, and I will use those as well, actually. I used to just use the teasing comb, but the reason I've added this on is because I think that it grips the hair a lot more. There's a lot more to grip here than just a comb. And the other nice thing about this is the brush is so dense that it actually won't go very far down into the hair. So it's great for smoothing out the hair because you will over tease it. That's just the way it is. So if you over tease it and you're like, oh God, I don't like how it looks, can I fix it? Yes, you can. You can just brush a little bit on the top and it'll unkink and untease that hair a little bit. But it's so dense, it's not going to get really far into the meat of your tease where all of the strength and the hold is. So it'll leave that alone. Now, if you do need to get down into the center area, that's where a teasing comb really comes into play, because that you can push the comb in there. Like if this was my teasing comb, I can actually get way down in there into the tease. I usually try and tease from the base, and then I also try and tease the center first, because if I need to suddenly get to the center, it's hard with this one. You can get in there with a teasing comb, but I think it'll make your life a little bit easier if you start from the bottom and move your way up and out.
Okay.
So for teasing, again, I will usually do this 3 or more times. And that's because with each pass of the tease, we're going to increase the volume and the texture of the hair. Some people will actually heat up the hair first, and I think for teasing that's totally fine. The softer it is, the more you can affect the hair itself. So I've seen folks who heat it up first, or they put a flat iron in it first and then tease it. Totally fine. I actually tend to do it the opposite way. If I'm first starting out, I'll sometimes heat it, but especially later on, I feel like I get a little bit more control this way. The takeaway from that, though, is it really doesn't matter what you start with. You can use extreme hairstyling methods with any wigs, any products. There's no right or wrong way to make a wig. This is just kind of what I like to do. And my take is, you know, no right or wrong way, but a lot of times there is a way to make your life easier for yourself. So I think starting with a good cut of wig, starting with a thick wig, something like that, yeah, I could make this work if I have a really thin wig that I found in a garage. But you're probably going to spend a lot more time double wefting and teasing and adding to that wig than if you had started with something like this. So for teasing this spike, we've already kind of gone through our first pass, and we have this teased up a pretty good amount, honestly. But I'm just going to get back in there. And again, like I said before, I want to start at the base, and I want to start in the middle because this has a tough time getting into the center. So you just start back combing like this.
Squeaky.
Essentially what we're doing is we're tangling the fibers together. It's getting rid of any remaining silky texture, tangling the fibers, introducing like a lot of air between them. And because we're tangling them, it kind of is starting to want to stand up by itself. The hair is all interlocked together, and now suddenly, without any glue or without any hairspray, we have a spike that's standing up by itself. This is really important to do on the base especially, because that's where a lot of the strength is going to need to come from. If your spike is not standing up by itself, you probably have not teased enough. So just go back and do it again. And then adding more tease to the rest of the spike is going to introduce more texture. The first 2 rounds of teasing, this is not to hold its shape. This is just to introduce texture, so it does not matter what it looks like. It honestly should look pretty messy and pretty bad. This is not what we want from our final wig, but this is what's going to introduce a lot of texture and a lot of volume into this spike. So this was a lot easier and faster because it had already been teased before. Your first time is probably going to take quite a bit longer than this. But
Okay.
here we go. We have a spike that stays up by itself, and we have a spike that's got quite a lot of texture, but we also have a spike that's really ugly. I don't necessarily recommend being done with your wig at this point. Not sure how great this is to see on camera, but hopefully
awful.
everyone
I love
can
it.
see the texture that is going on here. Not fantastic. So now that we've introduced our tease and our texture to the hair, it's time to lock it in place with heat.
Oh.
So this is the process
This
of
is the
softening the
perfect,
fiber and recooling them into a new and fun
tutorial
shape,
for you.
which in this case is our kinked texture. So for my heat, again, I like using a blow dryer. I can put it right on the hair, but if you want, you can use a hotter heat source. Steam is one thing you can use. A flat iron is another. I love using that myself. But we are going to apply our heat now. So
thank you
one
for
thing
the
you guys
hydrate.
can see is that suddenly the hair is a lot more floppy. Suddenly it's not staying up as straight, and that's because we've really softened the fibers. The hair has become a lot more malleable, but we need to let it cool. Unlike human hair, where you usually heat it and then immediately it's styled, the trick to this is the fibers have to cool down. So don't touch it until it is completely cool. Otherwise, you're just going to undo all of the work you just did. But it should also be a little warm to the touch, and visually you can see it not standing up quite as straight as it used to. But it's already cooling down pretty well. And I'll just come back to it in a minute or so. All right, our hair is basically cool at this point, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that tease out. And all I'm doing here is just combing the hair. I really do like using the teasing brush for this. I can use a fine tooth comb. This works just as well. But sometimes I feel like I get the comb in a little deep, whereas it's not possible to get in particularly deep with this one, and I'm getting a whole bunch of hair at once. So just kind of gently comb it out from the top to the base of the spike. Make sure you get in there and get the center out as well. We really don't want anything. We really don't want any knots or any remaining tease left in that hair. This was purely for texture. This was not for structure.
Ah.
One other reason I think that this is incredibly beginner friendly is that it's pretty fast. I used to actually only use foam work. I did not like to tease at all. I didn't understand it. It didn't work for me. I didn't like the texture. So I would only do foam work, and it would take me forever to do any styling because foam work is kind of a little slow and it requires a lot of patience. Whereas when I said, all right, well, there's a look I really want to do, and it was actually Squirtle, which was the first one where I said, this just is not for foam work. It just really needs to be a big, fluffy, teased shape. I'm just gonna bite the bullet and do it. And then I did it, and I said, holy crap, I did this so fast. This is so straightforward and so quick. Why have I not done this? Why have I been punishing myself? And so now I tease like everything. I think I use this method for most of my wigs at this point. All right, and with that, we have brushed out all of our tease, but we are still left with this amazing texture. And we had already teased it a little bit, so it was a little fluffy already. But now, after doing it a second time, look how thick that is. That's absurd. Even without it being teased, it's kind of staying up already, so that's a really good sign. I've worked this wig a lot. Don't feel bad if after teasing 2 or 3 times your hair is not quite this fluffy, but just do it again and again until you introduce the amount of volume and the amount of texture that you're happy with. That's the nice thing about this method. So here, if we even compare this spike, like how thick this is, going back and looking at our totally unteased hair, there's just absolutely no comparison whatsoever. This is only this much hair, just for context. That's how much we started with, the equivalent of this.
Ah, okay.
So that's the power of teasing and understructure. This is a really nice thing to start spiking with, and as a result of it being so fluffy and already so teased up, we don't have to do a ton of work for our final step, which is one more round of teasing. But for this round, we're not looking to introduce texture. This is going to be our final movement through the hair, and what we're looking to do is make this thing structurally sound and get it moving in the direction that we want it to go in. So this is our final tease. As a result, we should not make it very messy because this is what's going to be visible. And also we want to make sure that it's really secure. That's what we're going for with this final one. All of your other teasing rounds are about texture. This one is about structure. So again, starting in the center, starting at the base, tease it a bit. The base is okay. You can tease a bunch on the base. No one can really see it, honestly. So you can go ham here. That's all right. Don't go too ham though. Go moderate ham. Enough so that it's quite secure, but does not look like a huge mess. We will be covering up a lot of the visible texture with that hair that I set aside earlier.
This lady is pretty well known in the cosplay community from what I know. She does a lot of like extreme wigs and stuff. She's got like her own panels that she does. She's got her own book as well. So yeah, there's a lot.
But there is kind of a limit to how much you can cover. If this is an enormous mess, it's going to take more hair to cover it, and if you didn't set aside enough to start with, you may struggle. If you don't have to tease it a ton, then it's very easy to cover it. So just bear that in mind. Another way that I've seen some people introduce teasing is through a crimping iron. That is an easy way to introduce a lot of texture really, really fast. It's not my favorite texture look, but then again, I don't like a lot of teasing anyhow. So I really like doing it myself manually like this. But that's definitely one option. I think that's really beginner friendly as well. All right, so we've got the base looking pretty good. And as you can see, this is pretty structurally sound. This is a good looking spike that's gonna last you throughout the day. One other thing is, while this is our primary hold, this is our secondary hold and we do want to use it. So I like to spritz a little bit, kind of get it into the center of the spike that's going to be hard to get to later. The base is also very important. But right now I'm just getting it onto the inside of the spike. We're going to use a bunch of this on the outside, but it'll be hard to get to the inside of the fibers after we've teased the entire thing. So we've done the base, and now it's time to do the top. And with the top, one thing you want to ask yourself is, what direction do I want this shape to go in? Because holding it in the direction you want it to be, that's how you're going to tangle the fibers together, and that's the direction it's ultimately going to want to stay in. Again, the physical hold is the thing that we want to dictate the shape of the spike, not necessarily how we shape it and then spray a bunch of glue onto it. So for this, the example I like to do a lot is a kind of curve, just to show how extreme you can do this. If it's a spike, you can do that too. But for this, let's do a little curve. And we'll kind of hold the hair in a curved shape as we tease. And this is not going to be perfect. That's what the glue's for. But this is going to get us started. And we want to tease all over. Tease on the top, the bottom, the sides. But whenever you can, kind of hold it into that curved shape. This is great for doing any kind of spirals, any kind of bouffants. I know spiking is quite common with anime and cosplay, but I love doing weird shapes out of this. So like I've done like a water wig, I've done 2 water wigs actually. Squirtle's another one, which is also a water wig. Okay, this is really good for water, is what I've now discovered. But curves are fun, I love them.
Took a 2 water wigs in
so
this tutorial to
here is a
figure
nice
that out.
Curve that is kind of staying up all by its lonesome without any glue. Kind of looking at the texture, not bad. This is definitely coverable, but it's also very thick. It's a really good looking spike, and it didn't take much hair at all, and it's really, really light. So I'm pretty happy with this, and now the next step is going to be to heat it up a bit in order to lock that texture and that structure into place. All the hair is tangled together, and we really, really want to solidify that. It's really the base that needs the most heat in this case. While it's heated up, you can actually affect the curve of the hair a little bit more if you want. Not a ton, but we'll give that a little while to cool and then move on to the next step. So once dry, now it's time for our secondary hold. This is where we add our hairspray. Got to Be is a USA favorite if you guys can find it, but we're going to add this as our secondary hold, especially around the base, and then pretty much everywhere. This will help keep it in shape. If you need a more extreme shape that you cannot get through teasing, like say we wanted to do some kind of little corkscrew, we'll do some little Grinch thing here. That's where this comes into play. Small modifications and just adding a little bit of oomph. You don't want this to be for structure. So why did I just blow dry that? You don't have to do that. This will eventually dry on its own. However, it takes a bit, it takes longer than you would think. And if the hair moves at all during that process, it's not going to hold as much. When I first started using this, it wasn't working at all for me. My hair kept falling out constantly, and I said, why am I so bad at this? This is terrible. Am I stupid? And the answer was no, but I wasn't using it properly. Because I would spray and then I would say, I need to fix it, I need to do something. What you want to do if you're like me and are impatient is spray it and then immediately heat it up. That will immediately set it and it will become very, very hard and solid. It feels a little bit like glue, and this is pretty structurally sound. Like I'm messing around with it and this is not going anywhere. And that's from our physical hold combined with our secondary hold of glue. So I like this. I'm happy with the little weird Grinch thing on the bottom. I'm less happy with the texture, but fortunately that's why we have all of this smooth hair that we can cover it up with. This is not insanely kinked, so we don't need a lot of hair. What I will say though is work small. We only want to use a little bit of hair at a time because in this case, there's no physical hold. We're only using glue to hold this hair onto our understructure, and so we need to make sure that we saturate all of the fiber. Give it a little bit of a comb to make it straight. Now, if I were to take a big hank of hair like this and just say, I just want to put it on, much like I used to do back in the day, the problem with that is when we spray the bottom and the thing we're putting the hair onto with glue, and then we spray the top with glue, if this was a huge hank of hair, I would be missing all of the hair in the middle. That hair would not get any glue at all, and it would fall out over time. because there's nothing holding it down, and that's why you would get flyaways, things popping out. It's just not looking good in general. But when we work small, you can saturate everything. I'm gonna actually use my comb to hold it down a little bit. Top looks good. Bottom needs more hair though. You see how you can still kind of see the texture through it a little bit? So I'm gonna add a little bit more. Not a lot. I don't think I need much at all in this case. This is also important for pre-planning your wig because remember, this was the first thing we did was set aside the hair. You need to know how much hair to set aside when you get started. For instance, if your spike is all the way over on the side of your wig, you need to make sure that you don't run out of hair at the end. Like if I was to put this spike all the way on the edge of the wig cap, how am I going to cover the hair? That's just something you need to consider in your game plan before you really get started with your wig styling. So comb that out one more time. And then lay it down. Honestly, so this is giving me a little bit of trouble because the hair doesn't want to go in this direction. It wants to go down, and so I have this odd little kink texture right here. Very easy to fix that though. We'll just soften the hair so that now we can make it straight and fall in the direction that we want. Push it down one more time. Now, if I was doing this for realsies, for a wig that I would wear to a con, I would be taking a little more care. The bottom is still a little twisted. What I should have done is either reverse wefted this, so de-wefted and added it back in the opposite direction so that the hair wanted to point up, or I could have just taken the time to apply some more heat to it. But for something that we did in 20 minutes, it's not bad. And really the idea here is that we want to keep applying this hair all the way around our shape until it's completely covered in this slick fiber. One other thing is that adding a bunch of this to the fiber on top, it has become very, very solid. I don't think you can hear that, but it's pretty solid. This wig is not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's how I like to tease my wigs and introduce spiking, big shapes, big fluffy textures like that. But that's not the only way to create an extreme wig. If you need to create something that maybe would not work for this type of method, so say a really flat shape, a really cartoonish or really slick shape, something that is not a large fat understructure like this that wouldn't be able to be maintained, in that case, I like to turn to foam work. And this is kind of what I was mentioning about considering what method is going to be best for your project. You can do any of this. I know someone who only does teasing. I used to only do foam work for a really long time, but now I like to choose which method I pick based on what I want the final wig to look like. And I'll put a couple examples in here, but essentially it's the question of, do I want a more natural, fluffy looking texture, or do I want something that's really unrealistic, really hard, just very, very stylized? And also the question is can I even do this with teasing? Is this something that really needs to defy gravity so much that I need a foam or other material base? Now with foam work, we still have an understructure, but unlike this, where the understructure is hair, the understructure here is anything that's not hair. In this case, this is actually a piece of poster board because I wanted it to be really flat, but foam is very, very common. I like to use styrofoam because I prefer carving. I know some people use expanding foam, Ava foam, chicken wire I've seen used once or twice, but honestly, anything that has structure is not going to bend a whole bunch, and also something that the hair will stick to is going to be important. The only things I can think of that are probably not good for this method is going to be something like silicone, because your glue and your hair fiber is not going to stick. I actually, for beginners, and for me, because I like to keep my life easy, I would actually say look for a material that the hair and the glue is going to stick to really easily. In this case, I loved using the poster board because it's absorbent and the glue stuck down, and it did a really great and easy job of creating this shape. Felt is another thing that I like to use. Even when I use some other kind of foam like styrofoam or the Ava foam, a lot of times I'll actually put a layer of felt on top of it. And that's because the felt is more absorbent, and I find that you get a better grip. You can stick hair to anything, but I think it's just easier if you pick a material or pick a cover that's a little more absorbent, especially if you're new to this process. The main method for using foam core is that you want to essentially lay the hair down on your understructure, much like this, but while I know a lot of people who, well, I know one person who is very, very talented, and she is able to use nothing but this. And God bless her, because I can't do that. What I like to use instead is a permanent glue. So white PVA glue. Tacky glue is technically the one that I tend to use more often. I will use some tacky glue, water it down to about 1 to 3 parts glue to water. And then I will paint the hair with the glue. And what's great about that is 2 things. First of all, it's permanent. It is not going to come out unless you soak the entire thing in water. Like, I think we can hear this one, how hard this is. I've dropped this on the floor quite a few times, and it's still looking pretty good. And that's because this is just totally soaked through with a ton of glue. This is going nowhere fast, no matter how many times you wear this to the con. The other nice thing about painting and soaking your hair completely in a permanent glue is that all of the fiber gets covered. Unfortunately, foam work is definitely a more time-consuming process. I wouldn't necessarily say it's much, much harder. It's probably squarely in the intermediate, maybe to the expert level of wig work, just because it's a lot less forgiving than this. You really do need to be careful about getting your hair on correctly, not tangling the fibers, holding it in place until it's completely set. So it's a lot of making sure that you're working with your hands correctly. That can be kind of frustrating for beginners. So I would say if you've never really done any extreme styling, start with this guy. Or when you start your project with foam work for the first time, try and go for a flat shape. Anything where gravity is going to be helping you is going to make your life a lot easier. So for instance, this leaf, that's a perfect beginner project because it's flat. I don't have to be fighting to twist around the fiber at all. I don't need to curve it around a weird shape. Like anything that goes around a circle is definitely on the more difficult side. Something like this is going to be very beginner friendly for you. So this takes a while, unfortunately, and so I do not have time to do it in this stream, but I do have a handy-dandy video of when I was working on Squirtle's wig. So for this technique, I like to use a permanent transparent glue, typically watered down PVA glue, but here I'm actually using a clear gel called Patex, which is great for small pieces. I'm first applying the glue to the base surface, and then I'm going to run it through small pieces of hair that I've separated out. Like when we were covering our teasing understructure, working small is crucial to this technique so that you can thoroughly saturate all of the hair. As you can see, I am applying the glue first to one side, and then I am flipping it over once I get the cat out of my way. That is Finnick, by the way. I love him. But I'm applying the glue to one side, flipping it over, applying it to the other side, and that's so that I can be sure to coat every strand of hair with the glue. Making sure that everything is thoroughly saturated really is the trick here, and then because the glue is permanent, it means that the hair is never going to move. I actually do that by running my fingers through the hair, which not only saturates everything, but it also pushes out any excess glue in case I've used too much. In this case, it's always better to go a little too much than to have too little and risk not saturating the hair completely. Once done, what I do is I lay the hair down onto my line of glue, and then you have a few seconds to arrange it. It's not completely dry yet. However, do not touch it once it begins to dry, or else you're going to end up with pilling, which is small white balls of glue. Pattex is actually a really great option for small objects because not only does it dry really, really fast, but you can actually rehydrate it a little bit if it pills up. Sadly, I can't buy this at all in the States, so I really do use white PVA glue for most of my work, which gives quite a bit more handling time, which is especially useful if you have very long pieces of hair or are making a much larger object. For Squirtle, however, it's great because the hair is very, very short, and what I'm doing here is I am pushing down the edges of the hair with pieces of tape so that it conforms to this shell shape that I've created. I made this out of foam, but then I covered it a little bit with paper, which absorbs the glue a bit better, and also it's actually going to make this removable so that I can pop it up at a later point in time. And that's pretty much the basics of how I use foam work with any of my wigs, really, no matter what kind of shape it is. If it's flat, if it's rounded, or if it's at an extreme type of curve, using glue saturated through the hair is pretty much what I always use. I hope you guys enjoyed this really quick rundown of extreme styling. Again, remember, there's no one way to style wigs. This is just what I personally like to use and what works for me. If you guys come up with something, please do post it. I always love learning about new techniques. If you're interested in more of our work, you can find us on Calbuck Crunchies on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, Calbuck Crunchy on Twitter, because the name is too long to fit in the character limit. And you can also find our book available in our store online. We also run a charity Patreon where all proceeds benefit cat rescues because we love cats. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you learned a lot and have a project that you're eager to apply this to, and I hope to see you next time.
Oh my gosh, I'm like... Let's see what else I got. There's so much to learn. And I think I'm so tired is the problem. Favorite 13 crafting tools. And then we craft and chill. Created playlist. Videos. Can we see more videos? Real candy. Right wig for your cosplay. Cut new policy nightmare. What is all this? Cosplay story time. It's only one video. Wait, where's hang on. Videos. Master extreme wig styling, embellish tricky fabrics. Fantastic detailing for props and armors. Okay, hang on. Detachable wig cosplay wig accessories. How to wear a wig. All about crimping. Sure. What?
Penny, and in this tutorial I will be showing you how to crimp your cosplay wigs to prep them for styling. This is how it looks straight out of the bag. It's very shiny and smooth, but for styling we want it to have a little bit more texture. So once you put the wig onto the head mannequin, secure it down with a long pin right at the top. Here I have 2 crimpers to show you. This is the 8-tooth crisscross shape crimper. It's my preferred crimper right now because the more tooth, the smaller the waves. So I like to use it because the texture becomes less obvious with more tooth. And this one's a 6-tooth V-shaped crimper. I don't really use it much these days because it creates a larger wave. I also dislike the V-shaped design of the crimper because personally I feel that it takes more strength to press it down evenly, so I get cramps and it hurts my hand. Let's also prepare a brush and some hair clips. For this wig, I have set the crimper to 200 degrees Celsius. Different wig fibers have different melting points, so do a test strand before you crimp the whole wig. You can also check out my blog post in my website where I reviewed some wig brands that I always use. I have listed the temperature settings for those brands. Okay, first off, let's section out the bottom part. We'll start by crimping the bottom padding bit first. Thereafter, I will section out 3 rows of weft each time. This is what I mean by 1 row of weft. So 3 rows of weft will look something like this. As for the rest of the hair, let's twist and clip it away for now. When clipping to the front, grab some of the bangs and clip it together. The hair is less likely to fall and slip this way.
Ah, that's a good idea.
Let's get on to crimping the wig. We'll start by sectioning out about 5 to 6 cm width. Start with crimping the roots. When crimping the roots, don't press down on the crimper too hard. You can see that I'm pressing it down halfway only. Then after crimping it horizontally, we're gonna crimp it diagonally, sort of like a X shape. This creates more tiny waves which eliminates the harsh horizontal crimp marks. I do this because it is always harder to get rid of the crimp marks on the top. So to compensate, I'll create more tiny wavy texture to mask it.
Okay.
Once it looks good, we can move on to the rest of the hair. From here on, press the crimper all the way down. Continue until you're about a feet away from the ends. For the ends, press it down halfway just like the roots. The ends usually fry easily, which is why I'll use less pressure on it. Once the hair is all crimped, let it cool for a little, then take about an inch wide section, lightly press the crimper over it and glide it downwards. You can do this a few times. The idea is using the heat from the crimper and smooth out the hair like a straightener would do, but you don't have to switch between tools. For the ends, lightly glide through it. If you press on it too hard while you're gliding it down, some strands will be stretched from tension and bounce back up, creating more frizz, so you want to avoid that. After you're done with each weft section, brush out the hair to avoid any tangles. Here's how the hair will look up close. Then, to differentiate hair that has been crimped, I like to braid them together and clip it away before releasing the next layers of hair.
Nearly done with the second wig.
So
are you
once
doing
you
some
reach
wig
about
stuff
this
right now?
height, you may find that some bits of hair from the bangs are mixed into the longer hair. Try your best here to section out those shorter bits. Sometimes it's alright to just close an eye on it, but when you have shorter bits of hair and using full pressure on the crimper, it's pretty likely that you'll fry the ends of those hair. If you don't mind that, or if it doesn't matter with the styling, you can just crimp it as usual.
Yeah.
Otherwise, section it out first before crimping the longer bits. Now for the very top part. Most wigs have this fake scalp top. The hair here is in a bundle unlike the rows of wefts. So for this one, I will section it out and crimp it bit by bit. I like using a rat tail comb, take out small sections all around it, then clip away the rest of the hair.
I was gonna draw today, but I don't think I have the brain capacity for it right now.
To crimp the hair on the fake scalp top, lift the hair up vertically to really get into the roots. It's the same as the rest from here on, horizontally, then diagonally, then horizontally all the way down. Gliding it through is the same process as well. And do take note for sections near the top, unless you plan to cut it away and glue it back for the styling, try to crimp it with less pressure so that the texture is less obvious. Lastly, we have the bangs. Section out 3 rows each time as well, and same as the top, crimp it with less pressure. The hair here is shorter so it may fry easily, so be careful. The bangs are the most important bit because if there are very obvious crimp marks, the finishing will look pretty rough. And here's how the wig looks when it's all crimped. On average, it takes around 3 hours for 100 cm wig, so it's not something that you should count.
3 hours?
Next, let's move on to crimping loose wefts. Sometimes we buy wefts like this for additional highlights in wigs. To fix this onto the mannequin, I like to stick a pin through the sewn section on the top. Then fix it all around the head mannequin. The rest of it is pretty much the same, and for wefts I usually like to fold them together before pinning it. One row of weft is pretty thin and may fry easily, so making it thicker would be better, and you can also work through it faster.
Makes sense.
Oh, we're not done yet because there's more to crimping. Depending on how you plan to style the wig, you can switch up the crimping methods, so let me show you 4 different ways. The first one here is what you have seen so far, where I crimp, then smoothed it out. This creates less texture and barely any visible crimp marks. It's good for natural styling and removing the shiny surface on wigs. Compared to not crimping a wig at all, this has more texture and it is easier to style the wig. After crimping, wigs also tangles less easily, so spending time to prep the wig before styling saves your long wigs from getting all messed up after a day at the con. Here's the second variation. It's crimping then brushing it out. You're gonna crimp it as usual, light on the roots, heavy on the middle, then light on the ends. Once you're done while it is still hot,
Yeah.
take a fine tooth comb and go through the wig fibers. Combing
Like,
it through a few
tempted to
times
bring
while
over the
lightly tugging
human-sized
it,
dog
you will get a
bed.
fluffy texture. This is suitable for voluminous and textured styling. The third method is to crimp, then use a steamer to smooth it out. The crimping part is just the same as before.
I still have a workout to do today too. Maybe I'll do that after rest. I think also when I learn a lot of information at once, my brain gets really tired. Or anytime I have to do like a ton of decision making, it's the same thing.
Once you're done, take a comb and lightly tug it, then brush through the hair with the steamer running. You can do this a few times and each time it will get smoother. It also creates a fluffy texture and it is pretty similar to the second variation, but I would recommend you to use this for longer hair. The second variation will work much better with shorter hair because you comb it through while it is still hot, plus shorter hair you have less hair to tug on while running the steamer. For long hair, by the time you crimp the ends, the top part will have coat, so it will be better to smooth it out with the help of a steamer.
Ah, okay.
Lastly, we have the crimp and tease method. This one creates the most volume. You'll be shocked by how big and fluffy the wig will be. Let's crimp it as usual first. While the hair is still hot, grab a teasing brush and backcomb the hair. We're gonna leave it here until it cools down. Once it's good, take a hairbrush and slowly comb the hair out. It's like detangling the hair, so bit by bit from bottom to the top. This method works wonderfully if you plan to make spice. Once you get the fluffy texture, you can sculpt the wig into any shape you like, then smooth out the surface later on.
That's a lot of volume. Crimper is OP.
Okay,
Wow.
so what happens if you really do mess up and fry the ends? To demonstrate, here I'm pressing down the ends and you can see how the ends are fried. Then, I'm gonna glide the crimper through as before. But you can see that the ends are still looking really wavy. Let's try gliding the crimper again, but slow it down near the ends, using the heat to smooth it out as much as possible. If that doesn't help, because once the ends are fried, the hair becomes kind of puffy, so what I would do to reduce the volume is by taking a thinning shear and thin out the ends. It's not the best, but at least it helps. Though I would say that it is always better to prevent than to try and fix something later on. And here's how it looks after I try to save it. With that, we have come to the end of this tutorial. I hope it was helpful and that you have learned a lot more about crimping, because prepping the base is just as important as styling the wig. If you enjoyed this video, as always, please drop me a like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know what else you'd like to see in the future. I'll see you again next week. Bye!
I started to like... Wait here. Wait here. Wait here. Let's put it.
Hi, I'm Henny. I've been receiving so many questions from you guys on how to take care of your cosplay wigs. So in this video, whether you've commissioned a wig from me before or you're looking for tips on how to take care of your wigs, keep watching as I spill tricks on how you can take care of your wigs.
I remember
to
better
make
if
them last
I'm
longer.
doing it.
Let's get into it.
No, I don't think I need to do these
So
techniques
first off,
or
to
anything
care for your
my
wig,
wigs at
you
the
gotta know
moment.
how to wear it properly. All you need is a hairnet and some pins. A silicone band is optional, but good to have if your wigs tend to slip off or they are really heavy. So first pull the hairnet over your head and get all the hair out from your neck. Then you're gonna slide the net over your forehead and lift up the net. All the hair should go into the netting. While the hair is inside the net, adjust the hair by smooshing it around to make sure it's evenly distributed. This is especially important if you have long or thick hair. My hair's pretty thin, so this is enough, but if you have long and thick hair, you might want to braid them, then pin them onto the crown of your head before you put the hairnet on. Then I pin the hairnet down and carefully slide the net a little higher and get my ears out without pulling too much of the sideburns. For the sideburns, if you want to, you can gel them down to make it neater or shave them off so that it won't show through the wig. I personally haven't done that before, but I've seen cosplayers who do it. And afterwards, if you want to, grab the silicone band and wear it around your head.
I have a different band that works really well at the moment. It's like a velvet one. It's more breathable than the silicone. It does the same job.
Now to put on the wig, hook the straps behind first. It really depends on how tight you prefer to wear it
I'll
around
be
your
styling
head.
a wig.
Then holding the
My
wig
hair's
above
way
your
too
head,
long.
try to
They're
open
not
it
the
up
right
to
color.
the shape of the wig base. With the wig over your head, wear it from front to back. Then adjust the wig to make sure it's centered and all your hair is covered. Adjust the hair pieces if they have moved out of place, then lightly spray some hairspray to fix it. To remove the wig from your head, I know it's been hours, but don't just yeet it off and toss it one side. You gotta take care of it well. So carefully lift it from the ear tabs and slide it up. It's gonna be pretty humid in there after a long day, so put it on a wig rack to air dry it. And adjust the hair pieces if they have become messy. Okay, so you might be tempted to wash the wig since it kinda smells, but styled wigs are meant to be washed. So what you can do is after air drying it, spray some alcohol or fabric freshener on the netting inside. Then to maintain the wig, readjust the hair pieces back in place and spray some hairspray to hold it there. Here's where I store my wigs. It's always good to store them somewhere cool and dust free. If you think about it, when we style wigs, we use heat to melt the fibers, then hold them in place until it cools. So if your storage area is hot, eventually it's gonna warp the shape of the wig, so be sure to avoid that.
Okay.
Now, if you really gotta wash that wig, like let's say you want to restyle it for another character, here's how to do it. Grab a bucket and toss the wig in. Fill it up with water until it covers the wig, then add a few pumps of dish soap. Then go in and rub the hair pieces if there are any wax or hairspray on them. Make sure to really get it all out. Then let it soak for about half an hour before rinsing it out. As you rinse it, keep squeezing until there's no soap bubbles left. Squeeze as much water out as you can, then hang it somewhere to let it drip and air dry overnight. Be forewarned, if you have a long black wig, it's gonna look pretty scary.
Who needs a long black wig when you have long black hair?
So for longer wigs, it's pretty inevitable that it will have some tangles. Although crimping it does help to reduce tangles, it's still not 100% perfect, so here's how to detangle your long wigs. Section the hair into smaller bits and start combing it from the
Hi,
ends.
baby dog.
Imagine that the whole thing is tangled. If you start brushing it from top down, you're just bringing the knots from the top down to the bottom, and also tightening everything. That's gonna create even more chaos. This thing is gonna take a while, so maybe pop on some music or a movie in the background. For straight wigs, you can use a steamer or a straightener to run along the fiber to make it straight and silky again. But for curly wigs, these are more tricky because you can't use heat over them unless you know how to style curls. So for this, I recommend that you just comb them out and twist the curls in place with your fingers.
Is that a weird background, dark brown?
Here I'm also going to show you how to tidy up ponytail or
Supposed to wash your
pintails. For these, detangle it just like before.
I mean,
then
I
as you
find
work
wigs
your
is
way
nice
up,
because
hold on
it
to
gives
the
you a
top
whole lot
part.
of volume in the hair, like anime hairstyles tend to have.
Usually, I will also try to fix the hair flow on top with some hairspray. Tidy up the hair, spray some hairspray and adjust it again if needed.
Hi, baby dog.
And with this wig, I also want to show you some additional cleaning tips. So some fabric fibers got caught at the nape of this wig when I wore it a while ago, so I'm just plucking them out gently, then lightly brush out any excess fibers with a bristle brush. Also, this was a mistake which I wasn't aware of back then, but if you're an avid user of butterfly shadow hairspray, maybe it's time to check on your light colored wigs. The hairspray is actually really strong and cheap, but it turns yellow over time. I'm not saying that you should not use it anymore, but use it with caution. It still works on dark colored wigs or yellow toned wigs. But if you run into the same problem as I did, spray some alcohol over the surface and carefully wipe away the yellow residue. It won't be perfect, but you can still reduce it, even just a little bit. But moving forward, I'm sticking back to trusty Got2b, since that one is safe from the yellowing.
That's good to know.
I also want to show you how to fix your ponytail wigs if some bits of hair come undone. For soft-edged wigs like this, the top layer doesn't have much glue to prevent the glue stains from showing up. You can hold it down with hairspray, but if it needs that extra TLC, use a water-based glue and carefully apply onto areas where needed. Water-based glue tend to dry with less stains. Then set it with hairspray and quickly dry it with a hairdryer. Now, you can't keep a wig safe without knowing how to properly pack and transport it. For the wigs that I send out, they are usually packed on a foam head in a box that you can carry all the way to the event. Here's how I do it, but every wig is different, so you have to understand how to keep it secured while not damaging it. Here I'm pinning the wig down and securing the bangs in place. The ribbons will hold them in place, so even when it's tilted upside down, it won't move around a lot. The pins though have to be placed strategically so that it holds it down but not too much that it ruins the shape of the bangs.
Okay. So the cool tips and stuff in these
If
videos.
the wig has long hair, tie them up, then put it into the hairnet. These hairnets that comes with the wig base are super useful, so I always keep them for packaging.
Oh, okay. Pin it at the top like that. Oh, okay. Cool.
You can also cut the knots at the end to expand the net and wrap it around wherever needed.
Interesting.
For ahoge or any detachable parts, I usually wrap them up separately. For international shipping, I like to pack them into a cake box, but you can pack it however you want from here on. First, I place the wig onto the cake platform, then with the transparent box on, make sure it is not touching the sides or anything that is pressing down onto the wig. Then sketch around the base of the foam head so that you know where to add the hot glue.
Save this video.
When gluing it on, make sure to really check that there's no hair underneath or you'll be gluing your wig hair onto the box and you don't want that. Now this is still not very secure, so I will poke holes through the foam head into the platform and another hole through the platform. Then zip tie it in place. I once had the foam head coming off the platform when it got to the customer, but thankfully the wig was fine. But I've learned that extra security is extra peace of mind for myself and the customer. And I forgot to film the last part, but I basically tie the cake box down and that's how you pack a wig.
Okay.
Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned a thing or two on how to upkeep your wigs. I hope you found this useful, and if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below and I'll try my best to get back to you. And if you're thinking of your next cosplay, feel free to follow me on my socials to keep up with the latest updates on when my commission slots are open. As always, if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like and hit that subscribe button, and I'll
Style with me. created a playlist. Okay, we saw this one. No, that's what she said.
わらわが何をしようと
Huh?
世界中がそれを許してくれる。なぜならわらわが美しいから。
Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Henny and you may know me as Hennycomb on Instagram and TikTok. In today's video,
Yeah,
I'll be
there's a lot
showing you
of
how I
shorts and
transformed
stuff
this
of
wig into
cosplay
Boa
stuff.
Hancock from One Piece.
But I like
I'll be
having
showing
longer
you how to
videos.
create that perfect hairline and a signature hair parting. So I have already crimped the wig before this, but let me know if you'd like to see a tutorial on crimping as well. Here I have split the hair into a middle parting, and from there measure about a finger's width and then section out the hair. I'm using a rat tail comb for this part because the thin end makes it so much easier to section the hair than using my fingers. Just take your time to create a clean parting and clip away the rest of the hair for now.
Music's a bit loud too.
Next, we're going to cut off all the hair that we've sectioned out. We want to cut it as close to the roots as possible, so I like to work row by row. Hold the hair up vertically, cut your scissors close to the base and trim it off. Don't throw away the hair that you cut off because we'll be using it later to create the hairline. Just keep going until you've trimmed everything off.
Yeah, why are we doing this again?
If you notice any pieces that are a bit longer, just carefully trim them down to match the rest. Now that that's done, it's time to harvest for more hair for the hair parting. And here's a little secret. I'm actually cutting some hair from the back of the wig for this, but keep in mind this trick only works if the back of the wig has a long flowy design. If not, you might want to buy some loose wefts instead. When I do this, I usually cut about 3 to 4 layers of hair from the middle at the back. That way, once I let the hair back down, it stays completely invisible even if the hair is moving around. It's a great way to get just the right amount of hair for your parting without compromising the overall look for your wig.
Okay, have a look. Oh, nice. It's looking good so far.
Next, let's get the hair we've cut off ready for the hair parting. Start by combing out any shorter pieces and trimming away any knots. Since Boa's bangs are much shorter than the length of the hair at the back, I'm folding and cutting the hair into 2 sections. If you find that you didn't cut enough hair from the back, don't worry, because you can always go back and trim it a little bit more until you've got enough to cover the hair parting. Just take your time and you get it just right.
Achoo!
Okay, now let's get the base ready for gluing the hair parting. First, clip away any hair from the fake scalp to make space. Then, take a small chunk of hair and trim the edge so that it is nice and even, something like this. Next, we're going to apply hot glue. Put a generous amount of glue onto the base, then carefully push it into the middle of the hair. For the edges, Use the hot tip of the glue gun to press the hair into the glue, making sure it is well adhered. So while the glue is still hot, press the hair onto the base of the netting gently. Make sure there are no gaps between the hair and the fake scalp and give it a little push to secure everything in place. Hold it there until the glue solidifies and then let the hair fall backwards.
Okay, I see. I understand what's going on now.
Now I know the camera angle was a little bit far just now, so I'm zooming in here so you can get a closer look. It's the same method, just pressing the hair in and making sure there are no gaps between this chunk of hair and the one before, and keep going with this method until the entire parting is covered. Now this part will take a while, so while we're working on it, I want to let you know that I have more tutorials on my website for advanced wig styling techniques. You can find them at honeycomb.com, just like my channel name, so it should be easy to find. I'll also drop the link in the description below, so check it out if you're looking to up your wig game.
Any brunch? Oh, what are you having for brunch? I have a nap. I'm gonna take a sleep soon and then do my workout. French toast with bacon and home fries. Oh, okay. French toast. I haven't made that in a while either.
Alright, we're almost there.
Eggs.
It's time for the grand reveal. Carefully part the hair down the middle and tidy up any stray hair pieces.
Ah, nice. It's like, it's, you know when you're watching this video, right?
So
and she's
this
like,
is looking pretty good.
she's cutting all the wefts and everything. I'm like, oh, it's so permanent. It's scary. And then seeing it like this, like, oh, okay, that makes total sense. It makes 100% sense.
Ready, but I kind of want to make the top look even better. So I'll be taking a small bit of hair from the fake scalp and also sections that we just glued on. Then guide the hair into the right direction and use the heat from the hairdryer to mold it in place. Since synthetic wig hair melts with heat, this helps us to adjust the direction of the hair parting. Anyways, I'm using a hairdryer on the highest heat setting and the lowest fan setting. Blast on it for about 10 to 15 seconds. Just be gentle and avoid tugging too hard on the hair, especially the sections glued with hot glue, because the heat can also soften the glue. Be careful with this. Next, let's prepare the front of the hair to create the hairline. Start by pulling a small section of hair away from the forehead, and using the hairdryer again, heat up the hair, especially at the roots, so it opens up the forehead area once it cools down. Don't forget to repeat this on the other side too.
Ayo, I find it nice.
Okay, now we're going to start preparing the glute wefts to build the hairline. I'm gonna take a small chunk of hair, about this much, and then trim away any pieces that sticks out too much. Then using point cutting, trim the tip of the hair into a V shape. Next, apply small dots of water-based glue onto the hair and spread it out evenly. It's important not to use too much glue. just enough to avoid a mess but still get the right adhesion. And this part might take a little bit of practice to get it perfect. Then before the glue dries, pinch the tip of the hair to taper it into a V shape. While pinching, try to keep it as flat as possible, then lay it down to dry. Okay. It should look something like this when it's done. I made quite a few of these before moving on to glue them onto the front of the wig. Let's finally glue on the hairline. When working on the hairline, always start from the middle and work your way towards the sides. First measure the width of the weft against the front, then apply some Yoo-hoo glue around that area. Before gluing the hair on, I like to bend it slightly to give it a little bit more curve, then carefully glue it into place. For now, leave any excess hair towards the back. We're going to repeat this same process on the other side, but where the wefts overlap, use a water-based glue on the surface of the weft below. Just a small amount helps the wefts stick together when they stack. Since this step is very delicate, I like to use the tip of a rat tail comb to help spread the glue. Remember to clean the tip off each time after use. Now why I'm alternating between Yoo-hoo glue and the water-based glue is because Yoo-hoo glue is stronger and it dries faster but can be sticky and leave small stains, whereas the water-based glue offers a bit more room for adjustments. Now just continue gluing the wefts, making sure they are stacked outwards. If there are any minor glue stains, we'll take care of those in a bit.
Oh, it's just faster. Make it go faster now. Okay. Right? I like the look of it, but like the process scares me. Just that permanent cutting.
Now see that glue stain around the middle? Here's a quick fix. Grab a hairspray and saturate the area with it. The glue will magically disappear because the alcohol in the hairspray melts it away. You could just use alcohol, but it's a bit strong and might melt the glue too much, so hairspray is a better choice. Continue gluing more wefts until the entire hairline is covered, and use the same method. Apply hairspray to melt away any excess glue, then use the hairdryer to quickly dry it. Keep going until you've got a flawless
I don't think I have
finish.
the funds to do this kind of stuff, but it's nice to learn in case if there's something I want to do that requires it. But I think the styles that the hairstyles that I have for the cosplays are not ones that show the hairline. It just goes down and has like bangs and face framing.
Lastly, I'm going to adjust the hair that's been glued on, using heat of course. I start by sticking 2 long pins in the front to hold the hair in place. Then going in with the hairdryer, I sculpt the shape of the bangs until I'm happy with how it looks. It's all about getting that perfect shape, so take your time and adjust until it looks just right. Now all that's left is to trim the bangs. Since they are straight hime cut bangs, carefully trim them into a straight line on both sides. To make them look more natural, I like to separate the hair into a few layers and thin them out using thinning shears. I find this method easier to control compared to grabbing too much hair at once, because by working layer by layer, I ensure the top layer is thinned a little lesser so that it will cover the thinner layers below. To heat style the wig, I'm using a straightener set at 140 degrees Celsius. This temperature is hot enough to shape the synthetic fibers without melting them. The trick here is to sculpt the hair with my fingers right after heating it while it is still warm. It might look pretty hot to touch, but I've gotten used to it over time. This may be my personal opinion, but I do find that crimped wigs are less hot to touch compared to non-crimped wigs. Let me know what you think about this if you've ever tried this before. If needed, go in again with the thinning shears to refine the bangs. Well, wig styling is all about adjusting those fine details until everything looks just right. Repeat the same process on the other side, and I know I wish I could copy paste this part in real life as well. But wig styling takes time, so we've got to do this. You can do this too. That's a wrap on this tutorial. I hope this video has been helpful and that you've picked up techniques that will not only help with styling Boa's wig but also with other characters
So
too.
much learning.
If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more tutorials, let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see. You can also support my channel by liking, commenting and subscribing. Also check out my socials link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching!
Alright. I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling to stay awake. I think I should go rest off and then do my workout and prep for tonight's singing practice. Yeah, we're back to singing practice streams. Yeah, sorry. I really just had a really hard time sleeping last night. I don't think I really slept. Let's see who's on. How? Hi, Sir Otter. I'm gonna go sleep. I am still very, very tired. Oh, Trackmania. I don't even know who's on. Let's try refresh. There aren't really a lot of morning streamers. We could go to ASMR. You already... No, I don't think putting you guys to sleep on a Monday is probably a bad idea. Yeah, let's go see the Wolf Wow, I can English anyway. We're gonna go see wolves. Yeah. Alright guys, yeah, thank you so much for being here. I do apologize, it's a much shorter stream and everything than usual. We'll get back to a regular schedule this week. We'll recover. But for now, I'll see you guys soon. I'll be back for singing practice in like if it's 6 hours. And at that time, we're gonna do my workout. But for now, guys, thank you so much for being here. You're all freaking amazing. Tuesday? Yeah. See you all later, okay? Bye!